Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC 227, Dillashaw versus Garbrandt 2. So without further ado, let's just hop right into these main card fight predictions. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the featherweight division, Cub Swanson versus Renato Moicano. So Cub Swanson, as you know, veteran, so you definitely know him if you watch any bit of MMA, any bit of UFC. He's a true veteran. He has very good boxing, very sharp counters, good jab, good body shots, good overhands. And on top of that boxing, he has that type of Greg Jackson type of swag where he kind of has his own personality. He can mix it up very well with the kicks and all that stuff, and mixing his boxing with his kicks and his kickboxing. Very good with his submission grappling. So a true veteran, true jack of all trades, and very solid fighter, and has been a solid fighter for years. Moicano is one of the, I guess, new blood. I mean, he's not that much younger than Cub Swanson or that. Like, he's 20 years, 10 years younger like that. But he's certainly one of the newer breeds, newer people to watch out for. He's big. He has great striking. He has good submissions. And like, again, I say he's big. And he has a huge arsenal of striking as well. So that's kind of why I'm kind of leaning toward Moicano in this fight. I think Cub Swanson is still good and still hungry and still improving. But I think Moicano just is like, he's good at controlling range. He's good at moving his feet. He's good at his footwork is pretty good, so he's always moving. He's not being a sitting target. So that's gonna make it hard for Cub Swanson to land those counters, really march him down like he wants to or needs to like compensate for that height advantage that Moicano has. I think Moicano, like showed in his last fight against Calvin Guitar, a very good fighter as well. That Calvin Guitar couldn't really even touch him at any moment. Like, he couldn't really get to him. Then a few times he did, he would get countered. So like, in the same kind of sequence, I think Cub Swanson's a much better boxer than Calvin Guitar, but Moicano is going to have even a bigger height advantage, bigger weight advantage, and he's going to be able to move around and do what he wants against Cub Swanson. I think Cub Swanson's going to be able to be in there competitive and stuff, but he's going to have to come through a lot of counters. He's going to have to overcome a lot of range. I think Moicano just going to control that range too well, be too big, and I think his counters are going to have too much on him for Cub Swanson, especially at this point in his career. And he's not going to be able to withstand him like he would in his past. I think Moicano's basically going to catch him with something, hurt him, I think then go for the submission. So I think that's going to happen around the second round. So in this fight, I have Renato Moicano via second round submission. Then on to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Polyana Viana versus JJ Aldrich. So I don't really know too much about Viana. I think she had like 1 or 2 fights in the UFC, but looking at her record, a lot of submissions. Then I look at JJ Aldrich. From what I know, she's pretty much been in her last couple fights, she's been gifted with fighting other strikers. Matter of fact, her whole UFC career, it's like she's been gifted with other strikers, and she's like 2-1. So in the one, I think she lost to Lima. In the one fight with Lima outstruck her like pretty much one-sided striking match. And Lima was able to muscle around and beat her with the Muay Thai, beat her with kicks, beat her up all around. But then the other 2 fights, she was either the same size as her opponent or a little bit bigger or in a little bit better of a striker, and she was able to outstrike her opponents. But it seemed like still in her career, she has never fixed the grappling thing, and she hasn't really shown to fix her grappling issues against anyone, because they've been giving her a striker. So against Viana, who seems like she's a very high-level grappler, I think I'm going to lean to Viana in this one. I think JJ Aldrich still hasn't fixed that hole, and even her like one lone loss in UFC, she was like 2-1. She was able to get muscled around and beat up in the clinch. So I think that's going to favor Viana. I think her striking is well enough that she could stand with JJ Aldrich. I think Aldrich still has a striking advantage, but I think Viana will have a huge grappling advantage. I think she'll be able to take her there, rough her up there. I think JJ Aldrich will survive the first round, but once that second round comes around, I think she'll be worn out, and Viana will sink in a choke and submit her. So in this fight, I have Polyana Viana via second round submission. Then on to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Thiago Santos versus newcomer Kevin Holland. So I'm going to make this one real quick. I think Kevin Holland is probably could butt into a nice star, but they're feeding him to the wolves too quick. You're basically giving him one of the boogeymen at the middleweight division, a whole rack of power, a whole rack of tenacity versus a young fighter who really hasn't fought anybody yet. You're fighting somebody that's basically in like with a top 10 and who has all these KO records in the UFC. I don't think it's going to be like a first round stoppage for Thiago Santos. I think Kevin Holland still got a good career despite them kind of just feed him to the wolves. And he certainly has a chance, but all that being said, I think it's just too much, too early, too soon. Thiago Santos via first round TKO. Then on to our co-main event, we have in the flyweight division a rematch, Demetrius Johnson versus Henry Cejudo. So Henry Cejudo got stopped in the first round in the first fight. He then lost to Joseph Benavidez in a close fight. Then in 1-2 fights, I think he beat Wilson Reyes, and he defeated Sergio Pettis. The Wilson Reyes fight was pretty impressive, at least the performance, but maybe not who he beat more so, but how he did it. Then the Pettis fight was just pretty much he just wrestled Pettis. So you can't really say he proved too much. Then against Demetrius Johnson, he adjusted against for now to be a better opponent, but just kind of imitated some karate style is not going to be enough because Demetrius Johnson has already fought Kyoji Horiguchi, who's much faster, time is much better, and karate is what he actually did, was actually his background. And Horiguchi wasn't really able to do much. So what is Cejudo going to be able to do with imitation karate style? And against Wilson Reyes, who's slow, versus Demetrius Johnson, who's the fastest person in the UFC by far, that's karate style going to really be dead. He could try to wrestle, but he hasn't really shown anything about wrestling. He wrestled Sergio Pettis, and wrestling Sergio Pettis has no correlation to wrestling Demetrius Johnson. If he couldn't even wrestle Benavidez, how's he going to wrestle Demetrius Johnson? And all those like clinching exchanges and trying to go for the takedowns is going to set him up to get hit with those knees and get into Mighty Mouse's clinch for those knees to the body, knees to the head, and looking like the same formula again. I think he could put on a better performance than the first time, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be a better performance, but Demetrius Johnson has too much cardio, too much pace, and he has too many tools. And Henry Cejudo really hasn't added too much to his arsenal that he could really change anything. He has a chance to win, but the smart money is on Demetrius Johnson. So in this fight, I just have Demetrius Johnson via third round TKO. Then on to our main event, we have in the bantamweight division another rematch: TJ Dillashaw versus rival Cody Garbrandt. Team Alpha Male versus Dillashaw. So the whole Alpha Male versus Dillashaw. They all riding Garbrandt to beat Dillashaw. So in the first fight, Garbrandt came out hot and was dropping Dillashaw in the first round. It still was a pretty close round up until that drop at the end of the round. Then in the second round, pretty much I feel like Dillashaw already took Garbrandt's best punch. The same punch he got dropped with in sparring. Got back up and he started to fill out Cody Garbrandt. He started to set up his feints, and Cody Garbrandt was biting those feints very hard. I mean, TJ Dillashaw has some good feints, but some of his feints are very just obvious. But Garbrandt was biting all of them. His hand was lowering, his chin was kind of coming up. He would get caught with that. He got caught with that head kick, I think, once, clean. He might have got caught with it twice, but only one time clean. That one time that was clean, dropped him off, pretty much kicked him off his feet, lifted him off his feet, dropped him a little bit. He got back up. Then 20 seconds later, they got into a strike. They were exchanging strikes, and Garbrandt got dropped with a hook. Then finished with follow-up punches. So in this fight, instead of just going down memory lane, let's get back to this actual fight. I don't think Garbrandt's actually going just too much, and I think that's the problem. He thinks that it was a fluke when it was all set up. He was biting those feints hard. He was kind of too into himself, doing all these little taunting and stuff when he should have been focused on the fight. And I think just leaving his hands low for that head kick's just a tendency of it is, because he was even caught just playing around with Jean-Claude Van Damme, he just kind of leaves his hand low. And TJ Dillashaw likes to throw those kicks up there, and he mixes them in pretty decent enough. If you're going to have your hands low, that just leaves you up there tailor-made to get caught by them. And if you're not going to adjust, you think it's a fluke, it's not really going to be changed much. I think Garbrandt's always going to come out fast. He's going to be too overconfident in his speed. Yes, you're fast, but even if no matter how fast you are, you got to check your P's and Q's on defense, and he really wasn't doing that. I think Dillashaw is going to be having more confidence, and Garbrandt's going to be confident even though he shouldn't be. And I think Dillashaw is going to take advantage of pretty much the same openings he saw before, maybe some more ones. And even if they aren't there, he's going to probably try to find a way to bring them out during the fight, try to bring back those same weaknesses and same tendencies in Garbrandt and exploit them. I think Dillashaw is a smarter fighter, where I think Garbrandt, he's not an idiot, but he's definitely a fighter, kind of more of an instinctual fighter, just in him. Whereas Dillashaw, I think he has the higher fight IQ. So in this fight, I think that Dillashaw is just going to do it kind of similar to what he did before, break him down, outsmart him a little bit, and then stop him a little bit later than the first fight. But I think he's going to stop him in the third round this fight. So I think in this fight, I'll have TJ Dillashaw be a third round TKO. So that concludes my fight predictions for UFC 227, Dillashaw versus Garbrandt 2. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.